Good evening to all of you listening out there. This is W. Skymmilk, and welcome to Just Skimming the Surface. My guest today is Mr. Jake Henkel.
Hello.
Very, very good hello there. He is a middle school teacher as well as a musician and probably about a dozen other things.
I tried.
Try to
The jack of all trades, maybe.
Jack of
maybe the
all trades?
The six of all trades.
Six.
Yeah.
Six trades.
The six of spade of all trades.
So what would the six be?
Oh, geez, I don't know. No, teacher, coach. I try to play music from time to time. I tick off my wife when being the handyman around the house. The landscaper. I really am not very good at that either. Dad. It's not easy.
That's probably the hardest one.
That's the hardest one, yeah. Yeah. It's a thankless job. But someone's got to do it.
Someone got it. So,
how are you?
Oh, I'm very good. Thank you for asking.
Excellent.
So I know you from teaching at the middle school that I went to. It's actually very weird to call you Jake, and usually it's Mr. Henkel.
I say once they cross the stage, I'll friend them on Facebook or whatever it is nowadays, Twitter.
Twitter.
Instagram's kind of the big thing. I don't know any of the latest
You're
ones.
You're basically famous on Instagram.
Yeah. And they can call me Jake. Very few do, but
they all just say Mr. Henkel or Henkel.
Henkel usually. The Mr. is too formal.
Mr's too formal.
Yeah.
Especially with a shirt like that.
Oh, absolutely. Rick baby.
So you actually taught my brother's class, and I never had you as a teacher.
Right. He was on the blue team.
Yes.
Good old Tanner. Tanner was. I love the blue team. We won't get into much conversation on that because that would be a very small audience. But you gotta love Tanner. Tanner. I had one student before Tanner that was a big Elvis fan, and then there was Tanner, and he took it to a new level. And whenever I think of students, former and present and future, I think of Tanner quite a bit because I see him at Dunkin' Donuts, and I see him with the sideburns, and it's people like Tanner and you and everyone else that there's no such thing as normal or abnormal or different or anything. Everyone is normal in their own skin. And I look at someone like Tanner who, as a teenager, you're like 21, 22 now?
21, yeah.
21. I see someone like Tanner as a 13, 14-year-old, probably the only Elvis fan in the school, and he did not care, which is the best thing you can do in the world as somebody at any age. I used to have on my one of my social media pages, I said, come as you are unless you're a jerk or something like that. And that holds true. Do what you want to do as long as you're not harming anybody else. Believe what you want to believe. Love who you want to love. And I have nothing but admiration for Tanner and people like Tanner. I sound like I'm talking about him as if he's different, but don't get me wrong there. You probably want to edit that part out, but
just take all of the Tanner part out.
Yeah, but he is everything that is right with humanity. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy watching his videos. A couple years ago he found a little karaoke version of a song that was an old Elvis song, and I remember he was so happy to sing it. I think he was in his dorm room singing it, and I was like, that was really good. And I just, how awesome! I wish I had the guts to do that. I think I've posted a couple. I know I'll record music and do it, whatever, but just to stand there with my neck out on a live take and do it and post it. That's a pretty manly thing to do. It's a very humanly thing to do.
Definitely. So you remember Tanner, obviously, and that was how many years ago now? Probably.
Let's see. I had 06, 07, 08, probably around. I had Tanner his 6th grade year, and that would have been, I think, 07, 08, right around there.
So like 10 years ago.
It's been a while, yeah.
In 10 years, and you still remember him that fondly.
Oh, absolutely.
So as a teacher, do you get that a lot for a lot of different students?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I have lots of fond memories of students from my first year of teaching. I have a former student who we were going to go out and have lunch a couple of weeks ago who lives in, I believe, South Carolina now. And my mother-in-law passed away, so I had to cancel. But it's just those little things that, she became a teacher, and my sister-in-law, who was actually a student of mine, she became a teacher, and the former students who have become professional musicians, and we got Dylan Zobel out east, just following his passion. Another former student who does sound downtown in Chicago and has a recording studio here in Lake Villa. It's just, I saw a couple students the other day, and I hadn't seen them in probably 10 years. And I went through and I named them, and they looked at me and said, "I cannot
still
believe
remember
that."
the names.
One, it took me. I said, "Does your last name begin with an I?" And he goes, "Yes." I'm like, "Yes, I got you." It just took me a minute because he totally changed in 10 years. When you go from a little 12-year-old to 22, 23. Well, boy, he's probably 25 now. Yeah, he's gone through some changes, but it's a lot of fun. I love my job, and I honestly, I have to say, I did not get into my profession for the money. I did not get into my profession for the colleagues. No offense. I loved my teachers because they loved me, and all the other baloney that I have to deal with as far as meetings and staff meetings and all that stuff. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's worth it when it comes to, just closing my door and getting to work with the students in the classroom each and every day. Summer off is the most painful time for me. Yeah. That's the truth.
Definitely. I know a lot of teachers who would feel that way as well. So as a teacher, obviously memory is a big thing. Do you remember just fully how you started and like how it was teaching your first few classes?
Well, I started teaching for fifth grade in Oakland, right here. You went to Oakland, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember going in, and I had a blank canvas in my room, and I just remembered, what have I gotten myself into? Because, like, the teachers connected with me as a student. As a student, I respected their authority, and I appreciated everything that they were going to be doing for me, and I didn't know how I was going to get that done. I didn't know how I was going to earn that. And it didn't help at all that when we had the back to school night, was like 2 nights before the first full day of school, I asked one of the teachers, veteran teachers, like, what do we wear to this back to school night? And the one teacher said, "Oh, you wear whatever you'd wear like you're, fixing up your room." I'm like, okay. So I had a ball cap on, a t-shirt, slightly stained, and cargo pants, cargo shorts. And that same teacher, I must have been punked or something like that. I have no idea. But that same teacher was dressed like she was going to a wedding. And I was standing there looking like someone that was standing in the front row of a Nirvana concert. I was like, and I remember one of the principal came and told me later, because I went down and I said, I asked, and this is what they told me to wear. And she goes, "Yeah, a parent came down and said, this is who my daughter is going to be taught by." And she said that, I just told him to give him a chance. Like, well, okay. Hopefully I didn't disappoint him too much, but it was like, oh boy. So I made sure, it was probably I wore a tie my first day of teaching, and then I probably didn't wear a tie until about 11 years later. But I had to make sure I made up for that cargo short fiasco of 2001.
So 2001 was when you started teaching. You've been teaching for 16 years?
Yep, completed my 16th year.
Do you still get nervous before classes and everything?
I get nervous before the first. First day of the year.
First day of the year.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Dukes of Hazzard at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so back in the day, they had Dukes of Hazzard and they had Bo and Luke. And after about, I don't know, was it 4 or 5 years, those two main characters, the actors themselves got into a contract dispute. So there was like a season or two where there was Vance and Coy. There was Bo and Luke's. And you don't even know about this. And it was Bo and Luke's. All the other Dukes, Uncle Jesse and Daisy Duke and all them, they were all the same. But the two main characters were two different people who were the cousins of Bo and Luke Duke. And you would watch the show and you would go, this is just not the same.
Yeah.
And every year I have a Vance and Coy moment. I walk into my classroom and I look at my students each as hours go through, and I go, this isn't the same. Mm-hmm. This isn't from last year. And it used to take me a while to have them become their own for me. Now it's they become Bo and Luke really quick.
Yeah.
You know, they're back to, I don't compare them. I stopped comparing each year. And, this is this year's, last year my third hour, this is last year's third hour class with the characters. I stopped doing that, and I stopped trying to fit them into a puzzle that wouldn't fit, and each year is their own unique puzzle. So that's what I do now. But yeah, I still get nervous. There's going to come a point where I am no longer relevant. And when I was 22 and I started, I said I'd probably not teach past 42, and I'm 38 now. And there's going to be a year where they're just going to look at me and go, you're an idiot. You're so stupid. You're whatever. And then I have to sit there and decide whether or not I'm going to sell out and hang on for a pension, which is nice, or do something else and do them a favor. I just don't want to become irrelevant, which I don't think I am, but
no, definitely
there'll be a time, I think. Maybe not. There's veteran teachers that are 30 years in that are still pretty relevant, and then there's teachers that are about 15 years in that set sail long ago.
Yeah, definitely. So you don't see yourself doing this for more than 4 more years?
I see myself doing it until I'm no longer relevant. Till I no longer can make an impact. And I still see students still give me feedback to where I am relevant and I have an impact. But there's once that stops, my wife wants me to continue teaching because she's self-employed, she's very successful, but she doesn't have a pension and things like that, and she's going to want to, if I have to teach till I'm, I think, 55, she's going to say, suck it up and do it. and I probably will, but I'll probably ask for something that will I don't know how to say this. I'll probably ask for something to where I'm not working with kids directly because I don't want to hurt them at all as far as no longer connecting, if that makes sense.
I see.
I don't know.
But
like I said, I still feel good right now. My 5-year plan is to still be teaching in 5 years from now. Here. I'm a lifer here. Mm. Although I would move to Hawaii or D.C. tomorrow, and I would become the world's happiest homeless man in Hawaii and the world's happiest tour guide in D.C., but I still see myself here.
Well, even if you were to do something else, you've got a lot of hobbies and things to look into as well, such as music and all that. So your band, it's called the Henkel Complex?
The Henkel Complex. We play out live as the Complex, and then when we record, we're the Henkel Complex. Now, having said that, I have 20 songs that are basically ready to be released. It's just I'm in no hurry because it's not like I'm going to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
So I'll release maybe 8-9 songs here, 8-9 songs there in the next couple of years. It was the first 5 songs I recorded. It was basically a School of Rock moment. I had some former students that played, and it was a blast of former students that helped sing. There was a high school band back in the day, the Allies, and I liked them. And their lead singer, I don't know if you're familiar with Will. His name's Will. And I had him come and sing on one of my songs, and it's brilliant. But it's been sitting there for 4 years. I gotta get that released. The next year I'll have that done. So
yeah.
I love the creating process and giving a foundation level entry of a song, and then watching people who are more talented than I am build around it, because I can play rhythm and I can write lyrics and I can sing okay, but I'm not a great singer. But I can't play a lead guitar. I can't even keep beat on a tambourine. So getting the talent around a guitarist and organist. I had somebody came in and played slide guitar. It was a beautiful sound. That's what I love to do. Mm-hmm. That's like how people go and play poker and whatever. I like to waste my money recording music, and playing live's fun too.
You gotta waste it somehow.
Absolutely.
Alex, my last guest, Alex Thiesfield, told me that he did record something with you. Mm-hmm. You tell me more about that?
Yeah, I had him. There was a song that I had written. By now it's been 15 years ago. It's a song called Surrender Abbey. And all my songs none of them are meaningless. This one has I won't go into the specifics, but it has a really very vague meaning of somebody that I never even had in class years ago, and I heard about something that this person did that was, I would say, unsavory. And I wrote the song. It was, you don't have to surrender, Abbey. You don't have to surrender, Abbey. And anyway, so there was this little part that you could throw in a solo guitar, but that's kind of cliched. I said, I got a hold of Luke Holmes, excuse me, and Alex, and I asked them if they would throw down a little rap, and I appreciated exactly what they did. Alex said, "Hey, I need a little bit more time," so we pushed out the end of the solo or the bridge area, so he could get what he wanted to get in, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the same song I had a saxophonist and trumpeter on, and it's awesome. It turned out really cool. It's got a very I don't know, no one's gonna know this, but a Mighty Mighty Bosstones vibe, a little ska with it's got a nice little vibe to it. Yeah.
That's nice. Do you find it hard to separate your teaching persona and your social persona, or have they kind of blended at this point?
I used to have a really hard time, and I would say I've learned to tame my social persona, because I'm a teacher first and foremost, and I love what I do, and I don't want to get, I'm not going to be out there with, a shirt that says, these are the shirts I'm going to wear out and playing out or doing whatever. I don't want to get in trouble wearing a, inappropriate shirt out for anything,
Yeah, they could really sack you for that one, even if you have tenure.
Right, exactly. Oh, yeah, they can, if they want to find something, they can find something. Like I said, I got called in once because I said, "Come as you are, unless you're a jerk," and I was kind of keeping it clean here, but it was I literally said, "Come as you are, unless you're an a-hole," and I didn't spell out the word, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I just changed it to, I like to spell mayonnaise wrong, and then I spelled mayonnaise wrong. I'm like, you can't get me in trouble for that, because mayonnaise is a hard word to spell.
It's true.
But yeah, I've tamed my life outside of school down to make sure that I am well respected to as much as I can be, as they allow me to be in the social, especially in social media. Time hop reminds you. I'm like, I said that in 2009. I really shouldn't have.
Time hop is a great tool to look back on the things you tweet and go and delete them. All you got to do is tap on the icon, boom.
Delete.
Get
Absolutely.
rid of it.
Yes.
That's what I use it for.
Yeah, and I make sure, when I've kind of, I don't really discriminate on who I allow to follow me, and I just make sure that whatever I post could be seen by a toddler that's knowledgeable. With that toddler, if they could read and have the cognitive ability to understand, what would they say about that? And if they're going to be like, hey, then we're all good. And that's usually how I post it. So
that sounds like basic social media rules.
You'd think.
As long as you please toddler.
Think. Yeah.
There's a few things that I've retweeted that I've questioned and been like, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. Yep. I get into Facebook fights and all that stuff. I've thrown some of my words into the ring a few times just to be like, that was a bad idea. Such a bad idea.
Any sort of social media fights usually are.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier. And I'm not. I've learned to delete people who are ignorant, and people that on both sides during the last political election season, it was nasty online. And instead of getting to fights, if someone posted something from a site that was completely untrue, I just stopped following them. And on both sides, I mean, my liberal friends and my conservative friends, Facebook friends, I'm like, yeah, you know what? If you're going to be posting that garbage, I saw something that, like Hillary instead of Hillary, and I'm like, whatever. And, people posting that Trump and his small hands. I'm like, that's just stupid. There's not an intelligent argument there.
Yeah, it's basically just attacking the person rather than what they stand for and everything like that.
Right, and that just it bothers me. So
yeah, you didn't
instead
become
of sitting
a
there
social studies teacher for that.
And as far as the election this past year, we were not allowed to say Trump or Hillary in this classroom, and we were not allowed to say Democrat or Republican. We could only say conservative or liberal.
Were those rules you made?
Rules I made because once you said Donald or Hillary, Trump or Hillary, then people just shut down and were going to say what their parents said, or a silly meme that they saw, and then they're going to hold that as the gospel. And I did not want to have anything to do with that. So we sat there and we talked about conservative beliefs and liberal beliefs, from the social aspect to the fiscal aspect, financial and all that, and we talked about the differences between them, and we had probably close to, if not the best, week of debates. And that week that we debated different issues was probably up there as the best week of not even teaching, but like listening to 8th graders give whatever they said. They had to have evidence. They had to cite their source, and it was a beautiful thing. I just sat back and was like, free A's for everybody because you're awesome.
Yeah, once you take away the bias, there's a lot of intelligent arguments that can be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was super impressed with that. I mean, to be honest with you, I think some of these 8th graders were more knowledgeable than and actually I said this to them. I said, you are now more knowledgeable than the majority of voters that are going to be voting in this election, and you're only 13 years old, 14 years old.
Because
you have more knowledge.
Yeah, you took away all the don't listen to what your parents are saying, don't listen to that. We're just going to talk about the facts and what is being conservative and what's being liberal or moderate or what any of them are.
Exactly. And we went to D.C. Last month for end of the year trip. It's not affiliated with the school or anything, but we, of course, in DC you have these souvenir shops that have the whole make Trump great, make America great again. All the red hats and everything, and I had no problems with students buying them, but some of the other chaperones were like, "You're not going to buy those, are you? I'm not going to let you buy those." I was so bothered by that. I was like, no, this is not our place. I mean, if it's my kid, I might talk to them about it, but it's not my kid. It's not my place to sit there and say, you can't buy that because that's not who you voted for. That's where ignorance sneaks in.
Do you find that hard a lot with teachers trying to impose their beliefs on students rather than keeping the bias out?
Yeah, I find that. Yeah, it's prevalent. It's prevalent, and I would probably say I was probably guilty of it when I was younger as a teacher. I remember, it's funny because in 2008 we had we showed, or actually it would have been January of 2009, we showed the inauguration of Obama in school, and we had like 5 kids out of the 160 in class whose parents were like, "I'm gonna watch that. That's not my president." No, whatever. You can go sit out in the hallway and do a ditto. And we showed the inauguration this year because it's not the person, it's not the political party, it's the process, it's the respect of the position, and you can have your ideological differences, political differences, but you have to respect the process of what the Constitution was, and will always be. It's a living, breathing thing, and it's to not allow your child to be a part of that is sad. So that
Do you find parents interfering with a lot of the things you teach as a social studies teacher?
No, I really don't. I had one year the word rape came up in the 7th grade, and I don't. It came up in a question, and I answered it in the most vanilla way you can answer it. And I said, "Any further questions? Ask your parents."
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you teaching this in class? I said, I'm not, but I wasn't going to. I literally said it's when someone is asked to do something against their will, sexually. That's what I said. And they refuse. And whatever. That's how I kept it. I said, and then you should talk to your parents to learn a little bit more about that. Of course, they get the wrong idea, and they think I'm sitting there going, "Hey, let's talk about this," which is never the case. Because there's things that you talk about that you shouldn't talk about.
Yeah, there's a fine line between what the parents should teach and what the teacher should teach.
And you know what? And the sad thing is some of these people want to live in a cookie cutter world where everything is bubble gum and candy bars, and there's no bad anywhere. And then when you move out and you're 22, 23 years old, and you realize, the world isn't a sheltered thing where everything is perfect. And that's like you said, there's no right answer. You got to just find that mix, whatever works for you, whatever works for my kid versus whatever might work for your kid down the road, or however your parents dealt with that with you guys. It's not, there's no right answer. Heck, I showed my son, we adopted when he was 12. Probably the first 2 weeks I had him, we watched Hot Tub Time Machine together. I'm like, hey, I got this movie, let's watch it. And my wife was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe you did this." I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Oh well, it's a funny movie, and it's not exploiting anything. It's not like I'm showing him, anything that's, super inappropriate. It's just, your little silly,
dirty joke
humor, and whatever. It's, no big deal. But you know what? If your parents didn't want you to watch that or whatever, then mad respect. You know, I have former students who are seeing their first R movies at the age of 18. Fine. It's great. No problems there. I was watching silly, raunchy sitcoms when I was 8 because my dad was going to watch Cheers, which isn't, I don't know if you've ever heard of Cheers, but it's a sitcom from the 80s and 90s, and that's what we watched. And when you only had one TV in the house, that's what you were going to watch. Yeah,
definitely. It's parenting and teaching or sometimes go hand in hand.
They do.
Do you ever find your parental persona coming in during the classrooms or anything?
Yeah, I do. I just carefully, don't get me wrong, I don't try to be a parent. I just, like the last couple days of school, I remind students that I've had former students that have got into a car with a drunk driver and have died in an accident, and who have, gotten themselves in trouble by making wrong choices. And I'll go over some of those examples, and I'm not stepping on any parent's toes because they need to hear that from multiple places. So, I do those types of things. When a student seems down, I'll ask them if they need help, and maybe see a social worker, things like that. I've had some former students that have said that I'm like a father or a crazy uncle to them, things like that. But I don't want to step on any parent's toes because I think that's a big sign of disrespect.
Yeah.
And I, like I said, there's no right way to raise a kid, and there are some, I think, mandatory things that should be covered, and those are usually what I cover, and they should hear it thousands of times anyway.
Definitely. So, what would you say is the most rewarding thing about being a teacher?
The most rewarding thing about being a teacher is getting into there's a lot of different things. Anywhere from getting into an educated argument with a student, to having a student say thank you, a nice little, hey, you've inspired me. Those are nice. Working their butt off to do an excellent job on a project, on a presentation. Something as simple as asking them to, when we go to the Holocaust Museum in Skokie, I never tell them what the dress code is. I just say, you got to realize where you're going and keep that in mind when you pick out your clothes and when you see people coming in dressed very respectfully. Those are the most rewarding things when they get it. I'm not telling them to do it. They're realizing that what they should do. Those are the most rewarding things, I think, overall for me.
Definitely. Do you find it difficult sometimes to work with students who don't get it?
I've had, I remember my failures quite vividly, and I won't go into any specifics, but just the students that I couldn't connect with at all, I've tried to, and they're still mean, mean girls. I talk about, mean girls are the ones that always end up alone and when they're adults, and the guys that are picking on you now are going to be the ones that are, begging you for a job when you're an adult. And, more times than not, things like that are true. And, I've seen, my oldest students are now 25, 26 years old. And you see that. You see the ones that might have been picked on a little bit when they were younger. excelling in life, and the ones that you tried to reach who just didn't quite get it, struggling in life. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you can lead a horse to water. You can't, it's a cliche. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Sometimes they want to just shove their head into the water and say, drink it now. Yeah. And it's, you know, those, it's frustrating because you know, but when you're a 13, 14-year-old, they know that you're, they know more than you. Just ask them, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I try to give a lot of stories of me making mistakes when I was a teenager. And I talk specifics about what I thought and what I did and why I did it and what where the mistake was. That's the best I can do. I mean, instead of, like I said, being at home and being their parent or chaining them up in the dungeon like in the Goonies, like Schloff or whatever, you can't do that. I've researched you can't do that legally. So, you know, you just move on from there, and you hope for that they get it at some point before it's too late. So.
Do you have any more tips for anyone who's listening who might want to be a teacher someday, or any who are teachers that are maybe struggling a little bit?
If you want to be a teacher someday, make sure that you first of all, do a lot of, and I know they've changed it around since I went through school. I didn't really get into a classroom until my senior year of college, and nowadays, you know, I had a student teacher last year, 2 years ago actually, who was in my classroom just observing 2 years before that. But make sure you get into a classroom. Make sure you know it's what you want. Make sure you understand the ins and outs of everything, as far as all the baloney that you're gonna have to put up with, team meetings, you know. And maybe they love that stuff. I don't. I love, like I said, I have cool colleagues and stuff like that, but that's not why I became a teacher. I didn't become a teacher to sit there in the lounge and complain. I usually go into the lounge because my room is full, and I sit down in a chair and I put on headphones and I work on something else because I don't want to get into that. I would say to a struggling teacher, join the club. I look back. I thought I knew what I was doing my first however many years of teaching, and I just got better every year. I never settled, and I think I'm not as good now as I will be in a couple more years, and I just hope that continues going up. And, you know, like I said earlier, that there's still a connection with the students, but just never settle, and don't be afraid to go sit, you know, during an off period. Go sit in another classroom and observe. I've done that countless times, and, you know, you learn a little bit of what works, and you also learn from their mistakes too. You're like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that, you know, or this is a great idea, you know, as far as behavior management. And that's one of the first things that student that is, it's the hardest thing to learn, I think, is you know the management of behavior in your own classroom. And I started with the whole the green card and to pull a card. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was like
I did
red,
that a
green,
couple of years, and
maybe yellow.
I'm so ADD. I was like, well, I don't know, what card are you on now? I don't know. And I would usually just say knock it off, and that usually worked. Now that works nowadays. And but, you know, like I said, let change happen and try different things. I've tried new things that have failed, and I've tried new things that I've continued on the last 10 years, and they're successful now in my classroom. It works for me. It might not work for you, but it works for me.
Yeah, everyone's got to find their own little way of making it work.
I don't have desks in my room anymore because I didn't like desks. Now teachers will walk in my room and go, "Oh my God, you don't have desks." I'm like, hey, that didn't work for me. I have little tables that they just sit in groups, and that just works for me. I have a big old open area in the front of my room. It works for me, and there's nothing wrong with desks in your classroom. Like I said, it's each teacher has their own way, and there's no right answer. So just don't be afraid to try things, and don't be afraid to fail.
All right. And with that, I think we're just skimming the surface.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed this.
Thank you very much for coming on and giving us tips and everything. Very, very good experience here.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I was going to ask you questions and stuff like that. I wanted to know a little bit more about you.
Oh,
yeah,
you can.
Yeah, where are you going to school now?
Illinois State University.
ISU. Yeah, you're a Redbird.
Yeah,
I love that. That's very cool. And you're just going there?
Yeah, this will be my first year there.
So do you have your dorm yet?
Yes.
Where are you going to be?
It's going to be Manchester.
Oh, Manchester. Yeah. Very nice. I was in Waterson. I don't know if it still is, but it was the largest dormitory in North America, something like that. It's huge. And the wind tunnel. My dorm had, in its food court, had a Chick-fil-A,
oh boy,
Panda Express, and a Subway.
That's all you ever need. Those three, right?
I was a skinny man, and then I went to college.
It's rough.
And you went to CLC?
No, I went to University of Illinois Springfield for my first year.
All right.
And then I went to Columbia College for my second year.
There you go.
And I took a year off, and now I'm back.
You're going to have a lot of alumni spirit wear.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. No, I went to community college my first couple years, and that's another thing I'll say to anybody that's maybe younger. There's nothing wrong with community college. It's cheap, and you don't need to be in debt the rest of your life. I had my college paid off by the time I was 28.
Definitely.
Piece of cake. Loved it. And exactly what's your major?
It's going to be theater education.
Theater education, very cool. And you're going to be in Young Frankenstein, and that starts in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it
PM&L.
2 weeks, PM&L.
Yes. You go see Young Frankenstein, PM&L. It's an awesome local theater. I've been to maybe a half dozen local theaters around the state, and PM&L, it's very unique. It's got a very narrow, it's not very wide, but it's deep. I just love the depth of the stage.
Yeah,
it's just really cool. I saw 1776 there. I've seen a couple other things there, and it's a beautiful stage, and I'm happy that you're doing it. What's the age range of people that are in Young Frankenstein?
In Young Frankenstein, I think our youngest is actually 15.
Okay.
And then the next youngest is me at 21.
Nice.
And then we have a 22 and a 23. And
then you got
a bunch of old people.
and then you got the regular, the character actors, right?
Yeah. Well, we actually have a lot of new people here this time, so we're getting a lot of new people out with this show.
A local theater is only as good as the people committed to it, and to go do something like that for free is where you get the best people. Really,
definitely,
it is, and that's. I envy you for that. I have a few regrets in my life, not very many. But one of them is not doing a high school play. I did a middle school play, and as much as I want to do something at PM&L, just to be in the background and say one line, I would be scared to death. And I don't know why.
There's always time.
Yeah,
they do their summer shows.
Yeah,
those would work perfectly with your schedule. Cool. Even regular shows during the year. Yeah, when you're not coaching.
Are you nervous at all?
Very.
Yeah.
Open in 2 weeks.
How's it looking right now?
It's looking pretty good. I think it's all going to come together. We're going to have a great show. I moved into school 3 days after the show closes.
Okay.
So a little more nervous about that.
Yeah. You got a quick turnaround there.
Yeah. Very big turnaround.
You won't be able to come down from it. But yeah, these people basically become your family, kind of. Because how many nights a week are you committed to this? 4 nights a week.
4 to 5.
Yeah.
If we take Sundays.
Yeah. About how long each night?
A couple hours. Usually it goes from like 7 to 10:30 at the latest. Usually we're out by 9:30.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to help me out here a little bit. Is Young Frankenstein? I've never seen the movie. Is that the movie with Peter Boyle and
okay, and Gene Wilder,
Mel
Brooks?
Okay, yeah, the whole Mel Brooks thing. Okay, is it a musical at all or no?
The movie itself is not classified as a musical. No.
Okay.
This is just the musical version of it.
Okay. So it's adapted and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Very cool.
It's cool to watch the movie and then look at the script, and like there's a lot of the same lines, of course, but at the same time it makes it its own thing through being a musical and everything.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It's been a while since I've seen the movie, though.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Elvis Presley?
What, Tanner?
Yeah, no,
Or
you.
just
What are your? No. You, just Elvis. Are you an Elvis fan?
Well, yeah,
Yeah?
of course. I think he did wonderful things to music. The way his approach to the songs and that he's done, he was able to bring. Though I mean, from the time he sang music like an African American man would,
Right, yeah.
and that's why so many people listen to him, because back then it was frowned upon to listen to African American people
Right.
sing music, and it was amazing for him to bring that. It brought more popularity to their style of music, and I love music, so to
Yeah,
see anything like that happen, any sort of genre flourish, it's great.
that's cool. What type of music is your favorite?
Oh, I'm more of a soft rock, 80s, 70s, 60s kind of guy. Hall & Oates,
Hall &
Fleetwood
Oates. Oh
Mac.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch that Daryl's Basement or whatever that is? It's
No,
the Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates. You go online and type in Daryl Hall, and they've got he'll have famous musicians come, and he's got his own little band, and they'll go to his house, and I think it's called Daryl's House or something like that, and they'll just play music. CeeLo Green, and I'm not going to get the lead singer from Sugar We're Going Down. Help me out.
Maroon
Fall Out
5?
Boy.
Oh,
Fall Out Boy.
God, I just embarrassed
Yeah,
myself.
Goo Goo Dolls, Johnny
Fall Out
Resnick.
Boy it is.
They all go there and they'll just play each other's songs. It's cool. It's a cool.
I'm not good with a lot of newer music. I don't know a lot of the bands and their songs and everything. Sometimes people are just look at me weird. But at work, when I'm jamming to my old school music, I mean, most of the people who work there are older and
and they
like, great music. And then all the younger people walk by and they're like, what is this crap?
Where do you work?
Meyer.
Okay, the one in Round Lake.
Yes.
Very cool. I haven't been to that one yet.
It's pretty nice. Definitely check it out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I got to know a little bit more about you, and I'm excited. I'm excited to. I'll try to make it to your to the
if you can, that'd be
production.
great.
I think that'll be cool, and I think everyone should go see it because local theater is the most enjoyable. It is
Definitely.
because you don't even have microphones or anything, do you? It's
We
all,
do.
Oh, you do?
We do have
Because the one I went to.
Usually the plays we don't,
Okay.
and some musicals we haven't, but this one I believe we're going to be mic'd.
Right. Okay. All right. Very cool.
Besides, I mean, still, it's a small local theater, and just to see like something as big as this show or any other show that we do that has been done on Broadway and everything, like at a small theater, it's interesting to see the changes between the two.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
How we get it done without the high budget. And the,
Right.
Yeah.
It's super creative and fun. And there's that side area that was whatever it used to be. But there's that side area. Is that open yet?
Tribute Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been open for probably a year
Really?
or so now. Yeah.
Very cool.
We use it after the shows and everything. It's a very nice little area.
Very cool.
Little lounge for everyone to come see.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Definitely. All right, and with that, we are just skimming the surface yet again.
Nice to see you. Nice to talk
Nice
to
to see
you.
you too. Thank you so much for coming out. And with that, we are just skimming the surface. Thanks for listening. Remember to like us on Facebook to stay updated on future episodes and to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Leave a like down below and let us know what you think in the comments. Also remember to follow us on Twitter at WSkymmilk and to check out our website as well, www.wskymmilk.com. This has been WSkymmilk. Have a great night and remember to tune in next time.